Hey everyone, welcome back to my video work logs. This is a continuation of the part 3 episode. As you can see, we got both of our reservoir bay doors installed. We finished up the paint job on them, added a weather effect to them. But the problem that I'm running into is getting my UV lamps installed right underneath this door panel. The diameter of the lamp that I picked up is just a little bit too large to fit in that gap right there. So what I might have to do is revert back to my original idea and installing them behind these panels right here. But today's main focus is we just need to go ahead and finish up some of the detailing on this door. And I'm going to go ahead and add some locks and latches to the top of them. I'm going to create a vent that's going to go right over the top of these hinges to hide these hinges. There's going to be a red or amber LED that's going to go right inside there that's going to glow through this metal meshing that I'm going to have installed right over the top of that grating. Need to go ahead and work on some of the floor here, just finish up our paint job on the floor, add some of the striping and the hazard areas, the don't walk areas, and finish up some of the painting on the generators, the railings. So we got a lot of painting ahead of us in this episode, so if you want to head over to my workstation, we'll get today's project started. Alright, we laid out our tape grid, and inside these lines we're going to use a little bit of a caution yellow color, and go ahead and paint in all our little floor markings. We're going to do that using our airbrush and a dry brush technique. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, I just went ahead and made a sample piece here. I just want to try out my colors before I lay it down on my final product. I just used the caution yellow here mixed with a little bit of paint thinner. And on the white line here I just use an H2O mixture. And then on this other yellow caution line here I just use the solid flat caution yellow color. I'm just going to wait for that to dry just a few more minutes and see what line looks the best. I thought about laying this down with my airbrush, but I think I can get a better effect if I just paint this on by hand, do a dry brush finish, and then just use a little bit of sandpaper right over the top just to scuff up those lines a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and just wait for this dry for a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to decide on which one looks best. So I'll get back to you when it's dry. Alright, as you can see my sample piece is dried. This yellow line here is that we used with a little bit of the enamel thinner. The white line that was just mixed with a little bit of water. And then our other yellow line here that was just the solid paint. And this is a line I think we're getting the better coverage with. But as I notice as I come in a little bit closer here, I got a little bit of bleeding coming out through the edges from underneath my masking. So when I start on my final project, I got to make sure that my masking is firm down to my surface so none of that happens on my final project. It's good to use a sample piece first, that way you know what you're getting into, any problems that you might foresee before you start on your final piece. So what I'm going to go do now is make sure all my paint marks, all my masking is down firm to my surface. I'm going to mix up enough paint for the project, and then I'm going to get started. Alright, we went ahead and laid out our tape grid on our factory floor here. I want to make sure all these edges were down firm. We don't want to have any of that bleeding coming out underneath our masking that happened on our sample piece. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up some caution yellow, start filling in all these lines, and then once that's dried, we're going to take our dry brush finish and just go ahead and age those lines up a little bit. Create some little oil spills, create some rust marks around these edges here. And then I'm going to take a little bit of that metallic silver paint and just go right over that diamond plating and just kind of cut away at those lines a little bit. Make it look like the foot marks over the years and have eroded that paint and just given that nice age effect to it. So I'm going to go ahead and mix some paint up and get started. Alright, I got my hazard lines all laid down. I just went in with the blade of my X-Acto knife and started chipping away at that paint a little bit just to age it up. And what we need to do next is go ahead and just create some oil and rust spots and some grease spots right along our floor here. And how we're going to do that, we're just going to create an oil wash. I'm just going to use 2 parts of my enamel thinner with 1 part of my flat black, with 1 part of my flat brown. And I'm just going to create just this nice thin oily transparency. I'm just going to load our brush up really thick so it's nice and wet. We're just going to go in and just drop that in. Just let the liquid fall right off our brush, right around these edges here. Anywhere you think the oil and grease would have just built up over the years. Right along our edges here, back underneath our generators. Maybe some on the top of the steps. Alright, now all our little edges. And from there, what I want to do, I'm going to create these little control panels. They're going to go right here on our main floor. They're going to be illuminated by an LED shining up from the bottom. And I have a little control panel right on the front. And then right here in front of our hazard bay doors, I'm going to create this little fencing, this little gate. It's going to have a little biohazard sign right on the front of it. And then we'll go ahead and create our vents that are going to go right over the top of the hinges that are going to be illuminated from the bottom by an LED. And that's just going to hide this hinge here. So that's the main focus for the finish up the rest of this part of the project. So I can go ahead and finish up my oil wash, and then I'll get started on those control panels. Alright, now I'm going to get started making our control panels. I just grabbed this image off the internet. I'm just going to cut some of these little dials and hydraulic symbols right out of this paper here. And then I'm going to create this little small shadow box out of our plastic styrene and a clear piece of lexicon. And that's going to be illuminated. Either I'm going to use this small mini lamp or this high brightness white LED. I'm just going to have to try both lights out and see which works the best for me. So I'm going to go ahead and start making that small shadow box. Alright, we got both of our control panels installed. They're both backlit by an LED shining up from the bottom. We installed our fencing with the biohazard sign right on the front. We finished up some of the weathering on our doors. We did an oil wash on the floor. I think I'm going to wait just a little bit before I make these vents. So there's some other things I want to do with the floor here before I finally put that vent on. Because I might have to remove these doors again just to put some other stuff around here. I got to put some hoses and some before we're finished. So I'm going to hold off on making that vent right now. But I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit so you guys get a better look at this. Alright, now that I zoomed in a little bit, you can see our control panel up close. Inside you can see the dials and gauges that are illuminated by the LED. I'll get some still photos of that when I shut down the lights a little bit so you can get a better look. But what I want to do to go ahead and finish up this part of the project, I just want to finish off some oil washes just right here on the floor. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that right now. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and finish up this episode by doing an oil wash here on the floor. I just want to tie my control panel right into my main platform so there's no hard edges right here along this seam. 007 Pyroman asked me about the estimated time on these videos. Well, if everything goes well, I'd like to get one out to you at least once or twice a week. Just want to thank all you guys for all your great comments, all the subscribers out there. It's been really nice and really inspiring. I really do appreciate it. So stay inspired, guys. Keep creating, and I'll see you guys on my next update.